How are y'all liking the ring, the ring light in my glasses? Is this lighting cool? Would you like this? Also, I didn't have any, like, spooky wear, so, yeah, we'll pretend it's my costume, and I'm going as MCR fan. Anyway, I believe it's time for the video now. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is Nintendo's worst sequel of all time. Not because of how good it is. It's alright. It's pretty good. 6 out of 10-ish. I don't know. Maybe 7 on a good day. The game isn't even, like, that much of a quality downgrade. There's been much worse, like Chibi Robo Ziplash, for example. So why is it the worst one they've made? Because it killed Nintendo's most unique Mario spin-off. The year is 2001. The GameCube is about to launch, but before it does, let's look at the lineup of the current Mario games. There's the 3D Mario games, Paper Mario, Mario Kart. Let's take a look and listen to these for just a few seconds each. Let's notice the music, visuals, and sound effects. They all feel very Mario. They're all colorful, they're all upbeat, silly, wacky, whatever, because they're Mario. That's always what Mario's been. It's been silly, wacky little adventures with our favorite plumber. But then there's Luigi's Mansion. Atmospherically, this game was the first to really shake things up. Let's look at the first thing you see in every single video. Every single video game. That's gonna take a while. And now look at Luigi's Mansions. It feels different to you, and vastly so at that, right? We're greeted to just Luigi walking on fucking the grass. That's not a thing that happens in Mario. There's this feeling of lifelessness to it.
Hello?
And this continues through the first seconds of gameplay, too. Everything has an ominous feel to it. It's dark, there's an ominous glow on the door in front of you, the size of the foyer... Fuck, I said foyer. God damn it, I'm a disgrace. The size of the foyer is waiting to be explored. Walk up the stairs and you're greeted to a door that's begging to be opened, but you try it and it's locked. But then, you hear that. What I believe solidifies my point here is the A button. The GameCube's humongous button that's big and green, ready to be pressed. What does it do?
Mario!
Luigi just calls for Mario, scared. He's lost in the mansion and he feels helpless, so all he can do is call for help. Even if you try other buttons, you'll find nothing. The only other thing that you can do is turn off your flashlight, which at this point in the game does literally nothing. The lack of things to do on the controller signifies a lack of control, which has never been a thing in Mario games before. Now let's fast forward just a little bit. There's a lot of personality in this cutscene. Luigi cowardly tiptoes in the room and is startled by the ghost. Then something happens. Egad is there, stopping the ghost in its tracks. Egad takes Luigi to safety and gives him the Poltergust 3000. You set your controls, which signifies a new sense in control. Luigi trains with his new weapon, then goes back into the mansion, vacuum in hand, and the game truly starts. The opening jolts you into a new environment, and that's what makes the original Luigi's Mansion special, is that it's not Mario's mansion. Yes, that seems obvious. The person wearing green is not Mario. But what I exactly mean is that this isn't Mario. This isn't the same upbeat experience we're used to. It's dark, gray. Those are the same things. Which is in direct contrast with something like Mario 64, which has large but open environments with a sense of direction that are really colorful and yes, let's go and savor the princess! Woohoo! Versus this, a huge mansion that feels claustrophobic with no sense of direction and is dark and gloomy. You're just Luigi wandering through a mansion that you're lost in trying to find Mario. And I don't mean find Mario the person, I mean find Mario the feeling. You're lost and scared, trying to find determined and fearless. Luigi's Mansion atmospherically has distinguished itself. 10 years pass, and Luigi's Mansion is remembered fondly by many, including myself at that point, although to be fair, I was 5. And everyone thinks at that point that it's just a one-off game, they're never gonna make a sequel. But then, a sequel's announced. And everyone likes to hear that, because everyone knows how unique this game was. But then it gets released. Immediately you notice a change, but you're not quite sure of it yet. So let's go into the opening cutscene. It feels a lot more like Mario. The color palette's brighter, the music is no longer spooky, now it's spoopy, and the opening cutscene just sets a much different tone. The game's tone is so different that I could describe the plot of the first 2 games in the exact same way and you'd say something's wrong. Luigi finds a mansion and his brother's gone missing, so he has to search the mansion to find him. That statement applies to both games, but it doesn't feel exactly true, doesn't it? It's because of how Dark Moon frames everything. You're not lost in this mansion, you're exploring it. Let's look at a gameplay example. The controls illustrate my point perfectly here. In the first game, when you start, you feel absolutely helpless because there is nothing to do on your controller other than move. In Dark Moon, there's a tiny bit of that, but then you get a call from EGAD telling you about the run button. This is done to make it feel more like Mario. You have something to do on your controller, which makes you feel a lot more in control. And the fact that the button makes you run is important, because in the first game, the buttons at the start did very insignificant things. Play a wave file and remove your sight. This, however, makes you run. This completely guts the slow pace of the original movement because you can move at 2 different speeds. And if you can pick between a fast and a slow speed, the fast one is gonna feel faster than if you just had that fast speed. Like, do you know how good it feels to long jump in Mario 64? Imagine that was just your walk speed, and you couldn't increase it. It wouldn't feel as good, would it? Another thing that solidifies my point is the bottom screen. It can toggle between showing your current objective or a very detailed map that shows you exactly where you need to go. You have this map from the start, so you never feel lost. You're always determined to go where you need to go. Compared to the first, where there's no map and you're lost and alone. Sure, the first has a map, but it's not always in the corner of your eye. It's not making sound effects and glowing, urging you to look at it for direction like Dark Moon does. But I've only sketched the line art of my point. Let's color it in with some design decisions. We'll start with sound design, specifically music, and we'll look at the title screen for both games. Let's start with Dark Moon's. It's spooky, I suppose, but it also feels like Mario. It's even a little upbeat. The instrument choice even solidifies that even though there are ghosts, you won't ever be scared. Spooked maybe, but never scared. The originals, on the other hand, does not feel like Mario at all. It has an air of mystery to it, and it's really eerie. The soundtrack doesn't outright tell you, you won't be scared. In fact, it doesn't tell you anything. It's all left to the imagination. Now let's listen to some uh-oh themes. We'll start with Luigi's Mansion 1's Luigi Sucked Into Painting. Great title, 10 out of 10. Notice that the track is going all over the place. Specifically, listen to that backing. Compared to Dark Moon's Ghost Theme 15, which is a very original title, it feels calmer, doesn't it? Something is happening, but you can definitely do something about it. Compared to the original's, something bad happened, I need to do my best with what I have. Both of these games also have little I did it melodies. Here's the original's Area Boss Defeated. It starts super triumphant, but then it switches to a melancholy melody to remind you that you aren't done. Yes, you've done it, you did it, you beat the boss, but there's more to be done. Then there's Dark Moon's Level Clear theme, which goes overboard on the I did it! There's no time to think about what comes next, it's all about what I just did! But that's enough of soundtracks, let's listen to the Poltergeist Suck sound effect. The first game sounds like a vacuum. That is it, a vacuum. An ordinary, useless vacuum. And that's turned to the max when you set it to the blow setting. It sounds pathetic. Now, let's look at Dark Moon's. The suction sounds more powerful. It's slight, but it is noticeable. And the blow sound, that is far different. It sounds like a hairdryer now with how much more powerful it is. The flashlight in the original is literally nothing more than a flashlight, while in Dark Moon it's a souped-up strobel with a freaking a blast radius. This yet again helps the framing that the fact that in Dark Moon you are powerful. In 1, you aren't. But wait, there's more. Visual art design is just as important, so let's look at both games side by side. Do you notice how bright Dark Moon is? Colors are a lot more saturated in the original, and vibrant. Very, very bright. In darker rooms, the ghosts give off a glow too, making everything appear much brighter than the original, which don't glow nearly as much. Speaking of the ghost design, let's look at, well, the ghost design. The ghosts in 1 look a little intimidating compared to Dark Moon's children's toys that look like they were begging to be made into a marketable plushie. Honestly strange how they never made them into one. I spoke too soon. In the first, the ghosts have no nice form, while in Dark Moon, everything has a happy ending. The only ghosts that don't turn nice are the boos, which arguably suffer just as much if not more than the standard ghosts. The way you capture boos in the first is simple, just suck till they die. It feels like a struggle. In Dark Moon, you have to pinball them around the room cartoonishly. One last point is the mansion's design. In Dark Moon, everything feels open, while in the first, everything feels airtight. Let's compare the music room from the first to the library from Dark Moon. Do you see what I mean? In the library, there's ample space to move around in, but in the music room, you're tripping over your own feet in here. Okay, this is gonna be like a little less scripted than the rest of the video, but I noticed this during editing, and I just needed to put it in here. Let's look at the endings for both games.
Mario? Oh. Luigi, you saved Mario. I did it. Wait,
Dark Moon's feels perfectly just like happy, you know? Just generic happy ending. But the first feels different.
Oh, Mario? Mamma mia. Oh,
There's a reason I haven't called this game Luigi's Mansion 2 in this video, and that's because it's not. It is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. These two games are so stylistically different that I can barely call Dark Moon a sequel, let alone 2. Luigi's Mansion 3 isn't even Luigi's Mansion 3, it's Dark Moon 2. Atmospherically, we've never really seen Luigi's Mansion 2. Dark Moon is, atmospherically, is almost like a spin-off of the original. Remember that comparison I did earlier? Let's swap the original game for Dark Moon.
oh.
It blends more, doesn't it? It's less unique, it stands out less. The only main difference now is that it's Luigi and not Mario, when before it was a lot more than that. That's why this is Nintendo's worst sequel. Because it murdered the unique style of the first game. This isn't Luigi's Mansion 2. This is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.